That is the sound of war. A deadly battle that is capable of wiping off the entire earth. Children looking for their mothers, and wives looking for their husbands. But the men are nowhere to be found because they are now in the battlefield playing the triggers like strings. No, it won't happen that way, because this time, if there's going to be anything called the Third World War, I guarantee you that would be the end of the world. If you're wondering how it's going to happen or how you're going to survive, let's dive in. Sitting on a time bomb. But we are much closer to it. Life is lived by the moment, but if you're going to understand the future, you have to look back into the history. It was 2 years now when Russia invaded Ukraine with no tangible reasons, and it seems as though the whole world were ignorant of what to do about it. It made Russia to look so tall and a little arrogant in the presence of the whole world. But no, I don't think the other great world powers don't know what exactly to do about it. They know what to do about it, but they are trying to be wise. I guess to avoid one thing, just one thing. And what is that thing, you may ask? The Third World War. Now, looking back in the history, that was exactly how the Second World War started. Of a very terrible event that happened in September 1939. Germany, led by the Adolf Hitler, invaded Poland, which drove the Great Britain and France to declare a war against Germany. That was the cause of the Second World War. And just like that, what started between few countries and became a global conflict that lasted for 6 years, which took more lives and destroyed numerous properties around the globe, more than any other war in human history. I know by now you can be able to see the pattern of resemblance between what Hitler did to Poland, which triggered the Second World War, and what Putin is currently doing to the people of Ukraine, which might trigger the Third World War if not properly handled well. So many looking out through the windows of what is currently playing out in the world today. The world is apparently sitting on a time bomb that may soon explode if proper care is not taken. Now, there are reasons why anyone should not wish for the Third World War. Now, let's look back in 1914 of what happened in the First World War, which was the first global conflict. It was recorded that an estimated 9 million soldiers died and 23 million soldiers were wounded in that war, while other 8 million civilians also lost their lives. Imagine war taking places in several continents of the world and on different locations, at sea, on air, and of course on the land as well, until days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and then years. And it finally lasted for 4 good years. Imagine you are living in such kind of world, and it all happened because of the assassination of one man, Franz Ferdinand of Australia. And as if that was not really enough, in 1939, Hitler picked on the people of Poland just as Putin is picking up on the people of Ukraine now. And that intense war lasted for 6 good years, which shook every nook and cranny of the world, and about 85 million lives were wasted, not including the genocide, the suffering, the starvation, the diseases, and the Holocaust of the European Jews. If the Second World War was considered the deadliest war in human history, what makes you think that humanity won't go extinct after a Third World War? Think about that. And that brings us to the next chapter, which is the major reason why human and all human creatures may go into extinction after a Third World War. The Tsar bomb was the most disastrous nuclear weapon in the world. We are living in a world where the ability to build nuclear weapons is a show of strength. In 1961, when a man called Andrei Sakharov with the group of other physicists built the Tsar bomb, it was just in a bid to show off the power and the strength of the Soviet Union. It was believed that 10,000 of that bomb is capable of wiping off the entire Earth and humanity. And don't say it can be done. If they can build one, I guarantee you they can build as many as possible. Since then, the whole world has grown 100 times faster in science and in technology. But thank God for the banning of testing of nuclear powers. Because each of the world powers or countries such as Russia, America, China, Germany, India has some kind of nuclear weapon that, when detonated, could wipe off the entire nation within a twinkling of an eye. According to the Federation of American Scientists, there are estimated total of 12,700 nuclear weapons in the world, with Russia and America topping the list. And it was predicted that China, still at 350 warhead, would likely to increase to 1,500 by 2035. Remember, when we are talking about the nuclear weapon, these are the weapons that can have adverse and long-term consequences on the natural environment and can jeopardize the lives of future generations, because Third World War is going to be catastrophic to the world. The Third World War as a global conflict, if happens, would involve all the great world powers, as well as the use of the nuclear weapons and the weapons of mass destruction, and as a result, its effect would be bigger and stronger than that of the First and Second World War. The Third World War as a global conflict, if happens, would involve all the great world powers, as well as the use of the nuclear weapons and other weapons of mass destruction. As a result, its effect would be bigger and stronger than that of the First and Second World War. Now, there have been various military conflicts since the beginning of the 21st century. Most notably, the Russia invasion of Ukraine since 2022, as well as the rising geopolitical tension between the US and China. And as I said earlier, if care is not taken and it's not managed right, it will escalate to a point of no return, where all the countries of the world will be forced to be involved. Of the developed nations have under their belt good measures of nuclear weapons capable to annihilate all the parties to the conflict and even the entire world. But the US and the Soviet leaders worked to avoid such an outcome. Are there people actually profiting from wars? World wars come with huge destructive events which take decades to recover from. But occasionally, military conflict does have some positive economic impact despite the destruction it inevitably creates. These are for people who can properly position themselves to milk from other people's disaster. For example, the US economy benefited significantly from the Second World War, finally riding itself through the scourge of the Great Depression and establishing the country as the world's dominant superpower and technological innovator. However, most countries who position themselves well would benefit from wars. Speaking of profiting from wars, shoddy millionaires. Shoddy millionaires was a derogatory term used for war profiteers during the American Civil War. They sold recycled wool and cardboard shoes to soldiers during the American Civil War. During the war, they supplied the army with the shoes made from reprocessed shoddy wool rather than virgin wools, and supplied shoes made from cardboard that would dissolve when the soldiers marched in water or mud. Now, how can you survive the world war? And is there any way you can profit from the world war? Since we have seen that the organizations, companies, and even the country's economy can somehow profit from war, if you cannot be able to do that, at least there's a way you can learn to survive. Ahead. 1. Prepare ahead of time and put some structures in place. A time of war can be a very troubling time for every living creature in a particular geographical area. Countries like Germany, Israel, and Sweden have been training their citizens on how to prepare for unexpected war. You may think they are crazy, but they are visionaries, safety in advance for the days of troubles. In my hometown was an old bunker, a long ridge of hole at the back of our house. It was so long that it can extend to another town. We were told that the bunker had been there since the Second World War. People run into this bunker for safety when there were falling bombs. Millionaires, people like Mark Zuckerberg, have bunkers, a personal bunker. But even if you're not a millionaire, there are so many ways you can be preparing yourself in case the world goes weird. Master the map. Start by learning how to read and understanding the map accurately. This is very important because you don't know how and where you can find yourself or navigate to during the bad times. Understanding the map and knowing how to read it accurately can boost your confidence not to panic because you know what to do. And that brings us to our next point: avoid unnecessary panic. Do not panic, because sometimes fear kills people more than the actual action. Many people die because of fear of sickness, not because of the sickness. Lastly, avoid potential targets. This means you have to avoid large, visible gatherings during wars. During war, you have to avoid bridges, monuments, for all those things can easily attract attacks. Make sure you take with you some non-perishable food and don't forget to take as much as first aid as possible. If war breaks out today, what are you going to do? Where are you going to run to? Do you have any plan in place for your survival? Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you. And make sure you subscribe to this channel so we can grow a community, and see you next time.